in Mago Reddit. Today's story is...
My sister suspected for 10 years that I was cheating on my husband without proof. But when she gave my children DNA kits, I revealed the family secret that destroyed her marriage. I am 36 years old, I have been married for a decade, and I have 2 wonderful children. My little boy is 7, and my little girl is 9. For reasons I never understood until recently, my sister Jenny, who is 32, has always hinted that I am unfaithful to my husband. She constantly made strange comments and jokes about it that sent shivers down my spine. My husband also felt uncomfortable with this situation, and many times we considered distancing ourselves from her completely. However, my parents always strongly opposed this idea. My parents are extremely conscious of their public image and are obsessed with maintaining the appearance of a perfect family. It's nothing new. They've always been like that. We've had some pretty heated arguments about this issue. In the end, simply to avoid prolonging the conflicts, I ended up being cordial with Jenny, but nothing beyond that. Recently, however, Jenny crossed a line that she shouldn't have crossed, and in response, I crossed mine too. We were celebrating the holidays at my parents' house when she brought gifts for my children. As is customary, I had also bought something for her daughter. The difference was that while my gift was completely normal, she bought my children ancestral DNA test kits. She even insisted that they open them immediately upon receiving them. My children seemed excited, but I was deeply offended because, knowing her, I understood perfectly why she had done it. My husband literally turned red with rage. That's how upset he was. I didn't even need to explain it verbally. Everyone in the room understood exactly what she was implying, as she had mentioned it in 1,000 different ways on previous occasions. This time, I just exploded. I finally decided to talk about things I knew about her family, right in front of her daughter, my parents, and everyone else present. I told her it was ironic that she thought I was an unfaithful person, when in fact it was her husband who had had multiple affairs over the years. They have been together for 16 years, married for 9, much longer than my husband and I, who have only been together for 13 years. As we all went to the same high school, I can personally attest that he was never loyal to my sister. I was older than both of them, but even so, I knew all the rumors that circulated. And I knew for sure that he was a completely disloyal person who flirted with anyone who crossed his path. That's how it was in high school. Over time, I thought he would mature, but it only made his behavior worse. I never told Jenny about this because when I tried during high school, we had a terrible argument. Our relationship was already quite tense. She always seemed to feel somewhat envious of me and tried to constantly irritate me, something she frequently succeeded in doing. We didn't get along very well, but even then I felt it was my responsibility to tell her. So I did, but instead of believing me, she started arguing with me and accused me of trying to ruin their relationship and of being jealous of her. When they were at university, he went to study business out of state and even tried to flirt with me on social media. At that point, I also tried to convince her that I had been telling her the truth about what kind of person he was. But she still didn't believe me. After that, I basically gave up, because it was clear that she preferred to live in a fantasy where he was the most faithful person in the world and only had eyes for her. If that's what she wanted to believe, it was fine with me, because I was done trying to protect her. She could do what she wanted. Since then, although I've heard from numerous people that he is not faithful to her, I've never bothered to tell her because I know she wouldn't believe me anyway. So what would be the point? Editor. I just realized that I forgot to mention something in my original post, even though I said I would explain it later. This came to light during our discussion after we opened the gift. For some reason, she had started to believe at some point that simply because I became pregnant with my first child just a few months after getting married, it couldn't be my husband's. I don't understand why she thought that. She claimed it was just a hunch, and even now, she said she was willing to bet she was right, that I had had an affair and that none of my children could be my husband's. Honestly, I have no idea why she came to that conclusion. I sincerely believe there must be something wrong with her mind, because normal people don't behave like that. As we argued, she insisted that my husband should take a paternity test because she was convinced that I must have cheated on him. That is completely untrue. I simply happened to conceive my first child a few weeks before the wedding. When we found out, it was a happy coincidence. But the child was definitely my husband's. I have never been with anyone else since I started my relationship with him. Because like I said, I'm not like Jenny's husband. I think she just wanted to create drama and has been trying to do so for a long time. That's why she made up all these claims. It's all absurd, at least from my perspective. I don't believe a word she says. Neither does my husband, for which I am very grateful. Because given the conviction with which she says these things, even the most secure person would have doubts. But he knows me and he knows who I am, so he never believed her nonsense. I know it's hard to believe, but irrational people exist everywhere, and I think Jenny is one of them. There's something very strange about her that I can't even begin to explain. She's always had something against me since we were kids, and our parents never discouraged her. They always pitted her against me, so she's never seen me as a sister, only as competition. Given the circumstances, it's not surprising that she has these feelings towards me and tries to create problems in my life when there aren't any. It's just her way of being. But now I'm starting to see everyone clearly, and I don't think I want anything to do with my family anymore. They're obviously not the kind of people I want around me. They're all incredibly toxic, and I'm fed up. I had promised myself I would never mention this subject again, but I did. This time it was truly embarrassing. Because she can't try to make it look like I was unfaithful. I needed to know that the real cheater was the one she was married to. I brought up everything I had heard about him over the years, how my friends had seen him on dating apps, how he didn't even bother to change his name or anything. He was pretty obvious about it, I'm not exaggerating. I've heard from multiple people I went to high school with that he had responded to their post or contacted them on social media, trying to flirt with them. They didn't want to communicate with Jenny because she generally doesn't get along with anyone. So they contacted me, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is what I know. I'm pretty sure he's had encounters with other women outside of his marriage, and he's also had affairs at work. I can't prove it, but I'm convinced of it. After she gave the gift to my children, I yelled at her and said all of this out loud. Her husband was present, and he tried to deny everything. For the first time, she really questioned him about it, and then they both started crying. The situation became very tense, and my parents had to ask me to leave because the couple started arguing, and my parents didn't want me there anymore. So my husband and I left with our children, and since then, my parents have insisted that I apologize to them. I have explained the whole situation to them, including why I didn't mention this before. But they think it's my fault for bringing up such sensitive issues at a family gathering when they were trying to celebrate. Especially when my sister hadn't even done anything that bad. According to them, the gift could be just a gift, and I didn't need to interpret the intentions so much. They want me to apologize, but I don't think it's necessary. At the same time, however, I can't help thinking that maybe the gift really was just a gift, and I overinterpreted the situation and ended up overreacting. So am I the bad guy for the way I reacted? Update 1. Hi. Thanks for all the comments. They really mean a lot to me, especially now because I've been questioning my reaction. I just wasn't sure if I had acted correctly. I had been worrying and couldn't stop thinking that the gift was probably just an innocent gift. My husband had to assure me several times that he didn't consider the gift innocent either, given my sister's previous behavior. Jenny definitely intended it to be an insult. With her calmness, together with the comments here supporting me, I finally came to the conclusion that this confrontation was inevitable. At some point, I had to stand up for myself, and I'm glad I did. If my parents don't like it, then that's really their problem and not mine. For years, I had allowed Jenny to get away with saying whatever she wanted, because I simply didn't want to play along and create drama, as that's what she would love, a reaction from me that would end up making her the center of attention. That's what she had been wanting for so many years. She had been looking for a fight, and I'm glad she finally got the attention she so desperately wanted. It may have been at the expense of her self-respect and dignity, but who cares about that? Definitely not her. Because if she had had at least a little dignity, she wouldn't have stayed with her husband despite being aware of what he has been doing. She has been informed multiple times, probably by other people besides me, and she has never believed it. This time, the only reason she even reacted instead of ignoring it was because our parents were present and it all happened in front of everyone. She didn't want to give the impression of being the kind of woman who accepts that her husband cheats on her. At least that's what I assume. I can never be sure when it comes to Jenny. I don't understand how her mind works. In fact, I'm not even sure if it works properly. But that's not the point. My parents have been trying to get in touch with me for the last few days, but I recently blocked them because I really didn't want to get involved in this matter anymore. I was already done with all of this because, honestly, it has nothing to do with me. This is a problem between Jenny and her husband. I only mentioned it in public, but instead of talking to them about it, my parents have decided they want to talk to me and have been interrogating me for the last few days. They think it's all my fault, that instead of going to them, I chose to talk about it publicly in front of the whole family. They said my ultimate goal had been to humiliate Jenny just because I misinterpreted the intention of a gift. I tried to explain to them that I had made several attempts to talk to Jenny about it in the past, even before she married him, but she always claimed that I was jealous and never believed me, even when I tried to show her evidence. Whenever I showed her evidence, she called it harmless flirting, to which every husband is entitled, and she never had anything negative to say about her husband. So what was I supposed to do? But instead of understanding what I was trying to explain, my parents started telling me that it was still my fault because when I realized that Jenny wasn't going to listen to me and believe me, I should have gone to them. But I chose to stay silent and allow Jenny to suffer. The mental gymnastics required to come to such a conclusion. I can't even process it. In reality, they just wanted to make me the villain. They weren't even willing to believe that I had spoken to Jenny about it because she had denied having any knowledge of these events. She accused me of bringing everything up without having told her before, just to humiliate and ridicule her, as if she didn't do that well enough on her own. Obviously, that was a lie. But I couldn't prove it because most of the times I tried to talk to her, I did it in person and there was no written evidence left. So they even refused to believe that I had said anything to her about it. They would only acknowledge it for the sake of argument, not otherwise. After a point, I realized that I could no longer reason with them about this. They had clearly decided that Jenny was the victim and I was the villain. In fact, Jenny was the victim and everyone else was the bad guy. That was what my parents believed, so if that's what they really wanted to think, they were free to do so. I wasn't going to argue with them and try to make them see my perspective. I had already wasted enough time with these people. I didn't want to waste any more. For so many years, I had tried to do the right thing for everyone because I wanted to be a good person. I didn't want to create conflict. I didn't want to get involved in drama. And I definitely didn't want to be the kind of person who humiliates others for fun. Even now, I didn't do it for fun. I did it because she had insulted me first. But if you want to portray me as a dramatic person, an attention seeker, and someone who just wants to humiliate and insult others, you are free to do so because honestly, I am sick of trying to prove otherwise. Anyway, they don't deserve to be in my life. For years, I had tried to be nice to my family because I thought it would work. But clearly, it is not working. I also have my own family to take care of. I can't let them wear me down emotionally and mentally to the point where I feel miserable all the time. And I can't even have the energy to play or spend time with my children. My family deserves better because, unlike my parents and Jenny, they really love me for who I am. They don't make me feel insignificant. So I'm done. I'm not going to explain myself to my parents over and over again. They can think what they want. As for Jenny, I hardly care what happens to her. She created this situation. Now she must face the consequences, because at this point, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows that she was blatantly lying when she pretended that her husband's infidelity was news to her. She's not a very good actress. She was trying to appear to be a strong, independent woman who would never tolerate something as terrible as infidelity. But in reality, she is a weak person who refuses to accept that her husband is not loyal to her and has spent more than half her life pretending otherwise. And she can continue to do so for a long time to come. I hardly care. Update 2. Hi. For the last 3 weeks, I have had absolutely no contact with my family. As I mentioned, I blocked my parents, and I had already blocked Jenny and her husband, so there was no chance of them contacting me. It's been pretty quiet. I've been spending most of my time with my family and the rest at work. Many people who were present when I exposed Jenny and her husband have contacted me. They told me it was very brave of me to stand up for myself. Even they could see that the gift she had given my children was inappropriate, and she definitely had other intentions. They are normal people. They have heard all the jokes and comments that Jenny has made over the years, so they had the same reaction as me. They told me they were glad that I had finally stood up for myself because it was about time. Receiving that validation from them made me feel even more certain that I had done the right thing by exposing Jenny and her husband. If it upsets my parents and her, I'm sorry, I really don't care. I'm happy I did the right thing. Many people in the comments called me submissive or something similar just because I had put up with them for so long. I guess it's completely justified because I had actually allowed them to mistreat me for years without saying a word. Just because I wanted to make everyone happy, I put my own happiness aside and allowed them to treat me however they wanted without thinking about myself. So in a way, I had definitely been submissive to them, but no longer. That chapter is closed and will never be reopened. Earlier today, I received a phone call from my aunt, my dad's sister. I answered, but instead of my aunt, it was my dad on the phone. As soon as I answered, he started shouting at me, saying that I had a lot of nerve blocking them after everything I had done and all the problems I had caused in the family. He said that I needed to apologize publicly to Jenny and her husband because they had fixed their problems. They want me to apologize by saying that I had no right to say the things I said, because it was all out of revenge and with the intention of humiliating them. I was at work at the time, so I just hung up without bothering to reply. I was quite upset because my aunt, despite having said she supported me in all this, had allowed my dad to call me from her phone. I didn't block her, but after I got home from work, I called her and asked her what had happened. She explained that my dad had told them that he had blocked them all and that he wanted to call me to apologize. She was a bit skeptical at first, but then my dad convinced her that he really wanted to apologize to me. Eventually, she agreed to let him use her phone because she knew I would answer if it was her calling. She expected my dad to apologize, but instead he started shouting at me. She tried to get the phone back, but he wouldn't give it to her and said all those things. I hung up, and she thought about calling me back, but she ended up arguing with my dad and kicked him out of the house. She was too upset to call me, so she decided to give it some time, and then I called her myself. We cleared things up on the phone, and I understood that it had been a misunderstanding on her part, so I forgave her. She clearly didn't intend for this to happen, and it was a mistake that she learned from. After that, I made the decision that the next time my dad or anyone else in the family calls me to upset me, I'm just going to publish everything I know, and more people will find out what has happened. I'm sure it will be their worst nightmare because, as I said at the beginning, there is nothing more important to them than preserving their reputation. They are willing to do whatever it takes to keep their image intact, and so am I, but instead of keeping that image perfect, I'm going to reveal the truth. I don't care if people associate me with them. I'm past that concern. There's only one way to teach them a lesson, and that's to respond with the truth, and I've already made up my mind about that. I don't want to talk about this too much because I'm just going to end up getting more upset, so I'll leave it there. The next time they try to harass me, they will definitely face the consequences, so they'd better not try. Update 3. As I had suspected, my parents didn't give up. Although it's been almost a month since the incident, they still tried to contact me last night. This time they got a disposable phone to do it, and they called me. I answered the phone. Once again, my dad started yelling at me, even though it's obvious that it won't make me more receptive to him. I don't know why he thinks yelling at me is the best way to deal with the situation. I'm not a child, and I'm definitely not going to keep quiet and put up with it. This time, as if my dad wasn't bad enough, my mom also intervened and tried to make me feel guilty so that I would apologize. They were still insisting on that public apology, and I can't believe they really think I'm going to do it. It's not even a reasonable suggestion to me, but this time I told them that enough time had passed and that I had really started to regret what I had done. I told them that I was definitely going to issue a public apology because I felt bad about everything, and they seemed satisfied enough after that. So I unblocked them on social media and everywhere else so they could see exactly what I was about to post. Within 15 minutes of their call, I posted every single screenshot I had received from other people, the same ones I had shown Jenny in the past, and which she had simply called harmless flirting, to which every husband is entitled, according to her. I turned off comments because I really didn't want to know what other people had to say about it. I just wanted people to see this and know the truth. I didn't even bother to add a description because the images spoke for themselves, and I don't think something like this needed any further explanation. This was bad enough on its own. Of course, after that, my phone started ringing nonstop because my parents kept trying to get through to me, and so did a lot of other people, but I didn't bother to answer anyone. I just wasn't in the mood. I had done what I had to do, and now there was no going back. I blocked my parents once again because I have nothing to say to them, and as for what they have to say to me, I don't want to hear it. So far, I have received many messages from various people, but I have not reviewed any of them. To tell the truth, people can think what they want. People can believe what they want. I just don't care anymore. I don't even care if this hurts anyone. I protected the identity of the people who had sent me these screenshots of the conversations, but other than that, I don't owe anything to anyone. Update 4. Hi, it's been a couple of weeks since my last update, and yesterday afternoon I got a call from my aunt. She told me that Jenny has filed for divorce from her husband. It's hilarious the way she decided to announce it on social media. She decided to ask everyone to give her space at the moment, not to intrude, and to respect her boundaries. I don't think anyone is going to ask her personal questions about it. Everyone already knows pretty much why they're getting divorced. I've deleted my post, but I'm sure people have already found out everything. As if that wasn't obvious enough, Jenny decided to say that she had made this decision, quote, in light of recent events. As if that wasn't completely obvious. I think it's good that this is finally happening. She needs to get away from that man and live her own life. It's sad that their daughter is going to suffer through all this, but she'll be fine. Lots of people grow up with divorced parents and turn out perfectly well. In fact, I think it's better than growing up in a home where your father doesn't respect your mother. The child doesn't know it now, but in the future she might have found out somehow. So it's better that they separate now. I think Jenny is acting out of social pressure. She probably doesn't want to be seen as weak. Now that everything is out in the open, as I said, she inherited the gene from my parents. She cares too much about what other people think. But in this case, I think it's good that she cares. If not for herself, at least she's leaving because of fear of what others might say. As for me, people have been understanding and have said that I did the right thing once they heard my side of the story. I don't think I'll have any contact with my biological family for a while. I'm going to limit my relationships to my husband and children. I'm happy with them. And I don't want any more drama. I think I've had enough for a while.